Hey everybody, it is October 2022 and I have not made a video in a long time because I have been ignoring the garden because here in Texas we have had drought and a major heat wave this summer followed by flooding, and so I've really just been ignoring the garden. But I will give you guys a quick tour to show you what it looks like in the garden now after I have ignored it for, I don't know, like 5 months now. So I have not done anything, and as you can see, this was my squash plant, my squash, and it was doing really well, but then with the heat wave, and I tried watering daily. I tried, and it was just drying up too quick. So I've just let that go, and I'll be cleaning that up this summer. This is our lemon tree. This is a pink lemonade tree. And the other tricky thing about this summer is, I think because of the heat wave, first of all, the season started with really high winds, and those winds knocked out a lot of the flowers. And then the heat wave, I didn't see many pollinators at all summer. Usually we have butterflies and bees, and we'll see a lot of life in the garden. But with the heat wave, there was nothing. So even with the little bit of flowers that we had left, they were not getting pollinated. None of them were. Nothing was getting pollinated. But the lemon tree, you know, citrus does well in the heat, and I have not watered this. I haven't watered this for the last 5 months or so. I just watered it this morning. I went ahead and just watered everything this morning because now it's starting to cool down. And it's been doing okay. You know, it's still alive. So that's the pink lemon tree. This was a tomato that we were growing from scratch. You can see where I think my chickens got a lot of it. So the thing is that this is one that we grew from seed. This was a cherry tomato, and it was actually doing okay in the heat. See, it's still even green. And now there's new growth at the top. Again, it flooded like a month, maybe 2 months ago. It flooded, and now it's got new flowers on there, which is crazy because this thing, I've just ignored it this whole time. So all the bottom stuff is dead from the heat, but there's new growth on the ends and at the very top, you know, where the chickens can't get them either. This is not a cherry tomato. This is supposed to be a bigger tomato, but it grew like crazy at first, and then again with the heat, this one actually did the worst from the heat, I believe. But now there's new growth here at the very ends. There's new growth on the ends. In fact, I saw some tomatoes on here earlier, but again, I'm thinking the chickens got to them. I gave up trying to keep the chickens out of the garden because of the heat wave. So this is the best of the cherry tomato, the best tomato plant that we have. It is a cherry tomato. Again, like there's a lot of dead browning and dead leaves on here from the heat wave, but then after the flooding, it just sprang right back up. Lots of flowers on here. There's already fruit here at the top, which is awesome, right here. And this thing just like smells like tomato, or not tomato, but it has that really strong smell that tomato plants have. And I'll touch it, and it feels wet, almost like it's got sap coming out of it. Not sure what that is. Grass took over, because of course grass will still do okay. This was my little Thai chili pepper plant, but the chickens keep knocking it over. Oh look, there's some peppers on there. There's a lot of peppers on there. Awesome. I need to take better care of this. I really thought it would be dying because of the chickens. The peppers in general, the peppers fared a lot better than anything else in the summer heat. And so, you know, here's the Thai chili pepper plant. It's got a bunch of peppers on there. This was a bell pepper plant, and the chickens just went to town on it after they learned how to hop over the fence. It's this fence right here. So no luck there. And this is the serrano pepper. It was very dried out, and then the flood hit, and now there's already some fruit coming on here now. This is serrano. I mean, there's a bunch of fruit on here now. This is actually the first time I've really looked at these in detail. This was my okra bed, but all of the plants died. I'm gonna say it's mostly because of the chickens. This is the one left, but it's been like knocked over for the longest time. I have not seen any fruit on here or any okra growing on here, but it's a very bushy kind of plant. There's one of my chickens. That's Dewey. She's very soft. The rest of these beds are pretty empty. I had different stuff, ground cherries I think I was trying to grow in here, but they did not survive the heat at all. These were my tomato plants. I honestly don't even know what happened to these plants, but if you watch my other videos, this was the bed where I got store-bought potatoes. I put them in the cabinet and I forgot about them, and then I put them on the counter and I forgot about them, and then they started to sprout. So I threw them in here and just covered them and ignored them, and then these suckers grew like 3 feet high. I actually have not actually dug in here to see. I dug in here a little bit to pull up some potatoes, and that was really cool because they were like golf ball size. But I'm sure there's still a lot more in here, and I figured I'd just leave them alone and let them come back later. Just really want to see what the limits are with the store-bought potatoes. But the chickens keep getting in here and playing around in here, because this is also under the tree, so they like to hang out in this particular bed. This is the most interesting one. This is the Thai long bean. It's like the yard long bean. Again, ignored it in the summer because I figured everything was going to die and it was just going to be way too much water to try to keep things alive, so I ignored it. And it looked like it was pretty much dead. But then after the flood a couple months ago, it sprang back. I have not watered this other than this morning, and it looks like there's some buds or something. It grows like crazy, but I have not seen any beans just yet. I have not seen any beans. I don't know if I'm just missing them, but I have not seen any. The chickens kind of more, I mean, it looks like they leave this one alone. As you can see, they're all playing up in here. So the chickens, quick update on the chickens. So I have the 7 chickens. They are adorable and super funny. This one is my Orpington, Easter egger, the brown one over there. I have my white silky, my Cochin, my other Cochin, and my third Cochin, and my other Easter egger. Look, she's just doing a little dust bath in the raised bed. I want them to be super comfortable, so if they want to get in here, you know, that's okay. This is the garden line composter. I did not do anything with this for the longest time, but I actually just started putting more stuff in here. I haven't taken anything out since I first did it. There's some paper towels and other rinds and stuff. It doesn't feel very humid in there. Again, it's been very dry here in Texas. But yeah, I have not gotten a batch of compost out of this yet because it doesn't look like it's breaking down super well. I'll just go and give it a spin. So, I don't know if it's working well. All of my elephant ears died back from the heat. They grew back. I don't know so for those of you who grow or who haven't grown elephant ears, they grow super easy and they get huge, but then if they don't get a lot of water, then they'll die down and then they just spring right back up. So, you know, they're a little finicky, but they always come back. Like I've had this completely down with nothing growing, and then they just all spring back up. Here's the chickens again, messing with the bean plant. I keep wondering if there's beans growing on it, and then they're just eating the little pods before they get big enough to seed. I could totally see them doing that. Let's see, a bunch of our flowers had died. This is our rose bush. This is the only, or this is not the only one, but this is the main rose bush, and it continues to thrive. Again, we have not watered this at all, but roses are, at least in my experience, roses are very hardy. Roses are very, very hardy. And of course the chickens like to hang out under there. They like to hang out in this wisteria. Wisteria also seems to be very hardy. We don't water it, and it's just huge, and it's climbing over the fence. I need to do something about this because it's popping out fence posts, or not posts, but the fence planks. So I need to pull the planks out, get the stems out, and then nail the planks back in. But yeah, wisteria is doing really well, and again, the chickens love to hang out down here. It's just very shaded and comfortable. This is the Japanese maple. It's pretty hardy. You know, again, there hasn't been a ton of rain at all. Hasn't rained in a couple months, but it hasn't died. I'm trying to go for low maintenance. Here's a little corner where the chickens like to hang out, especially when it's hot. They'll just hang out in this little alley between the houses and under that sheltered roof there. Just a bunch of random stuff that I haven't done anything with. Again, I'm trying to go more for function than how pretty it looks, which is why it's not very pretty. I do want to show you guys this. So right here, and it doesn't look so bad now because, again, we got a ton of rain a couple months ago. But it hasn't rained in a couple months. So here I had put mulch because I did a chip drop. I covered this with mulch, and so it was just mulch on top, and then the grass started growing through it. And then after that rain, and then the heat came back, there were lots of, and even during the heat wave. So even during the heat wave, when all the other grass, everything else was yellow and dead. All the other grass was yellow, and then as soon as you move into the section where there was mulch, it was just green grass. Never watered it, it just stayed green the whole time. So that just shows how, because this is all mulch under here. So that just shows how, how awesome mulch is. Or wood chips, I should say wood chips. I know, it's mulch, whatever you get from chip drop. It's like the brush and leaves and wood all mixed together. Chickens are just going nuts over there. There's my stack of pallets that I'll eventually do something with. I use it for a variety of things. Dirty patio, because anyone with chickens knows how dirty your patio can get. So again, this is where we had the chip drop. With the chip drop, if you go to chipdrop.com, you can put in your address. You can donate, but otherwise it's free. And they'll bring like a whole, it connects you with arborists that need to get rid of their wood chips. And you can get logs or wood chips. And they'll bring like pretty much a whole like dump truck load of wood chips and drop it off in your front yard. And so I took like a month, 2 months, shoveling the wood chips into my recycling bin and then wheeling it over here and dumping it out. You see all these little holes where the chickens like to scratch around and bathe in it. Okay, so now, update on the chicken coop, or here, real quick. These were our other rose bushes. This was a climbing rose, and that has by far done the best out of all the ones over here. So the climbing rose has been able to stay alive. But the rest of these, I'm pretty sure, unless something changed. Yep, these are just crispy. These are dead from the heat, which is just really sad because these were here for years. Okay, so here's the chicken coop. I've made one upgrade on the chicken coop, but otherwise there's still a lot of other things I need to do. I have this sack here because when it did rain, it was, you know, the way I have it built, it was letting some water into the nesting boxes, so I just used that to cover it. No eggs right now. Those are my ceramic eggs. It is dirty as all get out in here. The other really annoying thing, and there's a hardware cloth on all the openings, but the other annoying thing with this is that sometimes they like to lay the eggs over there in that corner, which is super annoying because it is not easy to get in here. But most of the time, as far as we've seen, they lay the eggs in here. One problem I've been having, especially during the heat wave, it started then and now it continues, but it's also still kind of warm. The chickens, instead of going inside the coop, they will perch on top. And then I have to come out at, you know, when the sun goes down and pick them off the coop and put them in the run. And then they'll naturally just go inside the coop on their own. Chicken coop is not pretty. Again, there's still lots of work that I'm doing to it, that I need to do to it. But I've also been super busy at work. We got this trash can from Tractor Supply, which I really like because I'm keeping the chicken feed out here. And then this is the change I made to the chicken coop. So before, hey Lucy, quiet. So before we just had hardware cloth on here, and to open it you actually just had to unhook the hardware cloth from the screws that I had, 3 on this side, to open it up. And that was a temporary measure. And now this is my next temporary measure, which is that I just built a frame, put the hardware cloth on that, and then I have kind of these slots where the frame can fit into. And then this, I just move that down to lock that in place. So what does that look like? Just gonna fit that. Gonna fit that in there. And then I slide it over. And then I close it shut. So, of course, eventually I would love an automatic chicken door. But it's just kind of like just taking it one small step at a time. Because I am not at all handy with tools. And don't know how to do any of this. So I'm just learning as I go. This is what the inside of the run looks like. I put this cover on. This is the blanket I was using for padding in the bed, in my truck bed. Just put this on top so that they had shade when they were in the run too. Hey Dewey, come on, come on. Some of them will let me pet them, some of them won't. But for the most part, they're okay because we've handled them ever since they were chicks. Come out and play with them every day. The Silky is by far the most sketchy. Like, Silky doesn't trust anybody. And even though the Silky is pretty much blind because the fur covers the eyes, Silky is the hardest to catch. I don't know how. That's pretty much it. This is my okay, Lucy. This is my big update for October 2022. This is our first year with chickens, our second year trying to grow vegetables. This is the year we had a major heat wave in Texas, followed by major flooding. They're just digging everywhere. And thank you guys so much. Feel free to subscribe, because I'll try to do more frequent uploads, especially now that it's starting to cool down. There's lots of fun stuff to do in the garden when it cools down. And so you guys can see the progress of my chickens. Oh, before I forget, egg production with the chickens. During the heat wave, they were doing fine. They were totally okay in the heat, which was really surprising. They would be panting, but that's about it. You know, I made sure they had plenty of water. But they were doing okay in the heat. We were getting like 5 eggs a day out of the 7 chickens during the heat wave. And so they were okay with the heat. But then when it flooded, when it rained really hard for a couple days and it flooded, then they stopped laying eggs altogether. They stopped laying eggs, and only maybe a few weeks ago did they start laying eggs again. And even then, I'm only getting like 1 or 2 eggs a day, not the 5 a day I used to get. You know, which is when I was able to start giving them out to neighbors and such. So I don't know what's going on with their egg production. I've heard that maybe it's just because they're molting, which would make sense because there's a ton of feathers everywhere. But their egg production definitely has slowed down quite a bit. Lucy is the alpha of the... She's the top of the... she's the top of the pecking order. And she's also the loudest. She's the reason why I have to wake up. Like even on weekends, I have to wake up before the sun comes up to let them out as it starts to light up outside. Otherwise, she just gets really loud. Love my chickens. Alright, you guys. Please subscribe, like, share. That would really help me out as I'm trying to grow my presence and just kind of, you know, share the lessons that I'm learning. Let you guys see how things are going so you could learn from my mistakes. And just so we could have some fun together. Alright, thanks everybody.